Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. And this morning we are up with Eiffel stroke unicorn store. Yes, it's a mouthful, so I'll just call him Eiffel store. And I'm using one of the stamps, and I've tried to be as organized as possible because we've had a few storms and my internet keeps going out. So I've done a lot of preparation. So first of all, I'm going to put my stamp platform down about there, and I hope that you can see it. It needs a bit of clean. This is one from Surprise Creation, although I don't believe that she sells them anymore. So I'm using this one because I had it on hand, and we are using these stamps today. So if I just pop those down, I'm using these two, which are the Blossom and Bloom. So there is the Bloom stamp and there is the Blossom stamp. Now I hope we're not all blurred. So that is what that's better. That's what that one looks like, a little bit scripty behind. And then you've got two that are sort of like fully coloured and a couple that aren't coloured. So those are the ones we're using, and I'm using these two out of there. Now I've already used them once, and I stamped and then fussy cut the bits that I wanted. So that is my fussy cut and coloured lily from that set, which I'll pop down there. And then the two flowers that are not sort of like solids, I've done in yellow and blue and fussy cut those. So that's my little bit of organisation. Now I'm using heavyweight white cardstock as my base, but as my topper I'm using this watercolour effect cardstock. Got quite a few brush strokes in it, and I'm stamping straight onto this. So I'm just going to move my white base out of the way, and I'm having both stamps side by side. So I'm going for Blossom and Bloom. So my Blossom I want coming out of this corner here, and I'm hoping that I kind of can squeeze them all onto that sheet. So I'm going to move that over a bit. So I'll put it back into the corner when I need to, but I just want my writing to be on the same level. So I'm just resting that there for a second. I'm kind of eyeballing it, making sure that I'm not crooked. And they're sort of like barely touching each other. I need to come down just a tiny fraction with that one. Maybe a little bit more. I think I'll come down with that one as well, because then there's kind of a little bit of space up there for a sentiment. So it's just fiddling and twiddling, and I think that's about where I'm going to have it. And I know that my paper's all the way up on the corner, trying not to hit my camera, and I'm going to pick those stamps up. Now I'm using Versafine Claire, so I'm just moving that stamp set at the moment. I'm going to open up the lid. Whoops. Try not to hit my camera. Move my little pieces out of the way. And I'm just going to ink that up. And this is Versafine Claire. It's a great ink. It gives lovely detail. Very fine detail. And, you know, it's just a nice ink to use. So I'm putting a bit on, because with my weather you never know when something's going to kind of like recede on the stamp or dry out. So right, I've got that, and I've got my paper tucked up into the corner there, so I can slide it back across where you can see. Try not to hit my camera, make sure that's there, and I'm going to give it a press. And of course the nice thing about stamp platforms is if you don't get, you know, a clean impression first time, you can pop a sheet of paper under there to kind of push it up a bit. I've actually got 4 stamp platforms, I think. So I want to have a look in there. I can see there I missed a bit, so I'm just pressing that. And I think I've got a good clean image, yeah. So not wanting to hit my camera again, that's what we've got now on our watercolour cardstock, and it just makes a nice kind of continuity blossom and bloom. Nice wordage, there's a word. And then of course super simple easy, because I've already cut these out, and because I've used watercolour cardstock, it's kind of, you know, a super cheat, haven't had to colour it. And so now I'm going to use my lovely new glue, and I'm going to stick my bits on. You can see my alcohol ink marker has gone all through, but we don't worry about that because you're not going to see it. So that is now going to be placed onto here, and I am going to get a green marker after. Don't worry if you've got a little bit of stamp outline showing. Sometimes that can look pretty. And I'm just giving that a squish. So now we've got our lovely yellow flower on our blue background. And I'm going to do the same for this one. And I went for a much stronger blue because I'd already decided which paper I was going to use. This one's a little bit more difficult because you've got to kind of, I'm looking at this darker shadow piece here and it goes here, so I'm just spinning that around and getting it down straight. I'm hoping that's it. And then I've got to get my yellow one in. And I'm looking at the way that stamps, and I can see this little point here, because I have used a little bit of white gel pen, will go to there. So I pretty much know which way round that's going to go as well. And I'm just going to put my pin back in my bottle. There we go. And now if I flip that and look at where that's positioned, I think that it's about there. So that's going to go down. Now you can get markers or anything and doodle all the way around, which is one of my favourite things, and I might get a black marker. But first of all, I'm just going to pause while I grab my green pen, and I'll be right back. Right, so I've got my fine liner. I use this one. It's a Copic multi-liner, but you can use whatever liner you want. It's a 05, and I also decided I was going to use this one, which is Spectrum Noir Illustrator, and it is in yellow green LG2. So I want to use the fine point because I do need some control on these leaves here. Now you can basically see where I'm going in there, I hope. And I've had these I think for about 12 months, and I don't like them because after 12 months they're almost dry, so I'm using them up, what bits left, and I'm not going to buy them again. So just doing really rough colouring here. I just want it to be a hint of a tint, and I don't think my camera is picking it up too well, but it is there. So just a little bit of colour. And then of course I've got my blossom stem, so I've gone over that a few times, and I may just give the tops of the leaves a second coat. Go into those shadow areas. Right, so now my foliage has some colour. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my Copic liner. I'm going to make sure everything is glued down, there's nothing oozing out that's going to destroy the nib on my pen. And then I just want to very slowly track around. So start at a point that's, you know, comfortable and easy. Rest your hand down on the table if you need to, and then just go around in areas where you think it might be improved. Like if you left it just like that, you've kind of like got shadow underneath. And if you're using something that's water based, obviously you can wash that out and create a watery type shadow. So I'm going there, and I'm going to go here. So as I say, just put your tip down. You don't have to press very hard, and just go really slowly. So I've got that little bit there. It just adds a little bit of interest. And I'm also going to do the bottom of my lily and go all the way across there. And then you can just, kind of think about where you're going to have a bunch of shadows. Like I said, if you're using paints, then you can absolutely work them in and get a wet looking shadow, so that your simple stamp just ends up looking like it's got a lot more detail in it. But I've just got my marker today, and I'm going to go there. I think I'm also going to go here. So I've kind of got that, and it kind of adds a little bit of depth to it. I'm quite happy leaving those other ones, black and white back there, and I might put a few dots of white onto it, but I do love this one. I think it's such a pretty stamp. And now I'm going to use some glue, and I'm just going to make it very simple. See the reverse of this paper? I believe this one is by Craft Consortium. So if you look for their kind of watercolour or paint textures in paper online, I'm sure that you'll come across this. I've got my white base, and I want to get it straight, so you have to forgive me if I'm a little bit off camera trying to get this straight. That's not straight. I'm probably a lot out on the left hand side, but that's okay because I can still guillotine it. I'm just going to squish it flat. Isn't it great? I'm absolutely loving using glue that is not warping my paper, so I do thank everybody who told me to get this glue. And as I said, I can run off and straighten the edges up with my guillotine. Whoops. And that is my tube of silicone glue. I keep all of my glues within reach. And that is what I've got for you today. Isn't that pretty? Just a very simple stamp and just a little bit of colour, and there's room up there for a happy birthday or anything else that you want to pop along there. I really do like that. I'm sorry if my camera's blurred, but I think I would totally go in and put white dots in that area, just to add a little bit of something else. And I might as well do it while I'm here. Just lifts it a little bit from the darkness of the background paper. And of course you can add sparkles if you want to. Just a really pretty stamp set. Really love that. So there we have it, our first make. And I'll be up tomorrow with the use of stamps and some of those dies. Right, I thank you so much for joining me today. Have an absolutely awesome day. And as usual, all links below. Bye.